guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tanya, and today I'm going to do a reaction video for you. This is my cat Samara, and she's going to stay here with me for a few minutes. So today's video is a channel called, actually I don't know how to say this. I don't know if it's Wannon Creek, that doesn't sound right at all, Wannon, or Wannon Creek Wildlife, Wannon. I have no idea how to say this word, but I came across this because, oh, there goes Samara. Because there have been multiple people in my YouTube comments. Oh, this is crooked. Is that crooked for you guys? Anyway, there have been multiple people in my YouTube comments who have wanted me to do a video on cassowaries, and I haven't done that yet. What I know about them is that they're scary. They are scary birds. I am afraid of large birds. They freak me out. But I thought this would be a good video to kind of introduce me to them a little bit. It's called 10 Crazy Cassowary Facts You Didn't Know. And I don't know any facts about the cassowaries, so I'm going to learn everything about them. All I know is that they're like the largest bird in Australia, and I don't know if they're like the largest bird in the world or just in Australia. I don't know. And I know that they're mean and they're scary. That's what I know. So we're going to go ahead and learn stuff about cassowaries today together. And you guys can let me know in the comments if there's anything that you have learned from these videos too. Like, even if you grew up in Australia, maybe there's things that you just hadn't learned before. I know in my kangaroo video, there was a couple of Aussies in there that were like, oh wow, I didn't know this about kangaroos. I didn't know that about kangaroos. So you guys are learning stuff too, which is cool.
G'day. Sneaky here and welcome to Wicked Wildlife. And today we are in Townsville at Billabong Sanctuary, my old stomping ground, with Hope, who is a southern cassowary. And in this video, we're going to share with you 10 cool cassowary facts that I think you guys didn't know. Stick around. Number 1, there's actually 3 species of cassowary. Now we've only got one here in Australia. Hope here is what we call a southern cassowary. These guys are found on the coast of Queensland and also southern parts of Papua New Guinea. Up in Papua New Guinea, you've got the northern.
So basically this species of the cassowary is only found in the Queensland and, what do you say, Papua New Guinea area?
Cassowary and the dwarf cassowary. So they're the 3 species of cassowary we've got around the world today. If you go back further in time, there was a 4th species, the pygmy cassowary, which found as far south as central New South Wales. It's been extinct for a long time, so today Australia's only got the 1 species, but globally there's 3 species of cassowary.
Oh, okay.
Fact number 2, the cassowary is the 3rd heaviest bird in the world today.
The
first 2 are 2 different species of ostriches. You've got the common ostrich and the Somali ostrich. So these guys rank in number 3 in terms of weight. They are a bit shorter than the emu, but anyway, they're the heaviest.
Yeah, I guess they would be smaller than an ostrich and an emu. Ostriches and emus, and now cassowaries, they all freak me out. They are all so scary. The only bird that I can think of with like a really large beak that doesn't like freak me out is the shoebill, just because it's so weird looking.
Bird in Australia, heaviest bird in all of Asia, and the 3rd heaviest bird in the world, with maximum weights of just shy of 80 kilos, but the vast majority a bit lighter than that. But
I'm American, so I don't know what 80 kilos is. What is 80 kilos to pounds?
Nonetheless, 3rd heaviest bird in the world. Number 3, cassowaries are considered by most people to be the most dangerous bird on the planet, and they have caused 2 human fatalities. The first one was in the early to mid 1900s and was actually a 16-year-old boy here in North Queensland. Basically what was happening though was these 2 boys were attacking cassowaries, and one of them ran for it. The cassowary followed him, kicked him, and it ended up kicking him in the neck. So that was the first death from a cassowary. The second one happened fairly recently.
Not that I think anybody deserves to be attacked by an animal or anything like that, but and I feel bad for that kid and his family, but also, like, what do you expect if you're like attacking an animal? It's gonna want to attack you back, you know.
In the 2000s, and that was in America of all places. A man living in Florida who was keeping cassowaries, same thing, was kicked, fatally injured.
Why is it always Florida?
2 deaths on the record from cassowaries. Now, of course, the vast majority of negative interactions or attacks between humans and cassowaries aren't going to result in a fatality or a serious injury at all. But a study in 2003 looking into 150 of these attacks found that about 75% of all these cassowary attacks were the result of cassowaries who were so used to being fed they're expecting food and basically
damn, that's
people,
tall.
grumpy that they weren't getting food, things like this. A small percentage involved cassowaries defending their chicks. A slightly larger percentage involved cassowaries physically being attacked by people or dogs. But basically, the vast majority were overfed, humanized cassowaries that had lost their fear of people, lost their natural respect. So the moral is, we shouldn't be feeding wildlife.
Yeah, I mean, not just cassowaries or birds, but that goes for any animals. I mean, it's the same thing with, like in Tennessee right now, like in the Smoky Mountains area, like, cause they have black bears, a lot of black bears in Tennessee. And there are people who will literally go to the Smoky Mountains just to try to find a black bear or just see black bears, which is, first of all, completely stupid because there are so many like cool reasons to go to the Smoky Mountains and it has nothing at all to do with black bears or like wildlife in general. But also it's just stupid. It's so ridiculous. But like the bears are now so used to humans and being fed by people, like tourists coming there and feeding them, because guaranteed it's not going to be the locals that are doing that. The tourists are going there and feeding these wild animals, and bears in particular. And because of that, the bears are getting closer and closer to like the civilization. Like they'll see them just walking down the middle of a busy road, like in a tourist area. And the locals are like really pissed about it because all these people are feeding them and that's why they're coming out. And the locals just want people to stop so that the bears will go back to their natural habitat and quit begging for food, you know? So I completely get why it's so important to not feed wildlife and everything, especially something like dangerous, like a bear, a cassowary or whatever, you know? I will say though, I'm not that far into the video, but emus do scare me so far more than a cassowary.
Help wildlife, there's lots of ways to do it, but feeding wildlife never ends up well for the wildlife. Not just cassowaries, we do it with crocodiles, the crocodile starts hanging around. Down home we do it with seals and people say we've got to get rid of that seal. Lots of ways to help wildlife, feeding them is not the best way to do it. But number 3, cassowaries are considered the most dangerous bird in the world by many people. Number 4, it's actually believed now that cassowaries and all their relatives, the ratites, came from ancestors that could fly. Now this is a fairly new idea. You see, up until recently we thought that because there's these flightless birds all around the world, that they must have walked when the continents were locked up, continents broke away and they evolved in their own forms of ratites. But genetic evidence shows that some of the ratites are actually closer related to birds that fly today than they are to one another, which is an indicator to some people that even though this guy is one hell of a turkey, these guys might have come from a flying ancestor and they lost their flight independently of one another because the niche of giant flightless bird works so well in so many different ecosystems. So again, number 4, cassowaries came from potentially a flying ancestor. Number 5, cassowaries are fairly unique compared to a lot of other animals in that the females are both larger and brighter in colour than their male counterparts. Now, with the vast majority of animals, you think of males as being larger because they're fighting with one another to get the female's attention, or brighter in colour because they've got to attract a mate somehow, like a peacock or something like that.
Yeah.
But in the case of cassowaries, females are bigger and brighter in colour. Males go from between 35 to 45 kilos or so. Females average something like 58 kilos and have been recorded at a smidge under 80 kilograms in weight. So not a little bit bigger, quite a bit bigger.
Crazy.
So when it comes to cassowaries, the girls certainly rule the roost. Number 6, when it comes to cassowary families, it's actually males who do all the parenting. Now they share this in common with their closest cousin, the emu, in that the father does all the incubating of eggs and raising of chicks. You see, cassowaries in the wild are basically solitary. They live separately from one another and they only seek each other out come mating time. Now this is from like May to October-ish. Basically the male will build a nest, females will come along, she'll lay 3 to 5 eggs in those nests and then she will disappear, and she might lay her eggs in several males' nests throughout the season.
Wow.
A male cassowary, he's going to spend the next 60 days or so sitting on those eggs. He doesn't get up much, he doesn't drink, he doesn't eat, he sits on those eggs until those babies hatch. And they follow him for the next 9 months before they become independent, wander off into the bush, and he builds a new nest waiting for a female cassowary like Hope to come again.
I know that penguins are like that. It's the males that sit on the eggs when it comes to penguins too. So that's interesting.
and repeat it all over again. So cassowaries are pretty good dads. The dads do all the parenting. The mums have it pretty easy in this case.
Wow.
Number 7, this giant cask on Hope's head here is actually still a bit of a mystery. There's a few different theories about what it could do. Some people believe because of the honeycomb structure inside that it might aid in detecting the sounds that these guys make. Imagine this as a big animal lives in a very dense environment. They can't see one another very well. They make a deep booming sound. And the theory is that cask might help pick it up. Another theory is because it grows throughout their entire lives, it could be a symbol of, dominance or their hierarchy, because older, bigger, stronger cassowaries might have a bigger cask.
Is it hard? Is it really solid and will they use it as a weapon, to headbutt somebody?
Yet again, other people think it might work to help break through the brush as these guys stampede through the rainforest. At the end of the day, they're all theories. We don't know. If one of you guys watching out there does well in school, do a PhD on cassowaries and let me know in 10 years' time, because their cask is still a really cool mystery. Number 8, cassowaries are what we call a keystone species. Now, basically what this means is they're an animal that is crucial to the maintenance of the survival of an ecosystem, not just, a small thing like a burrow, the entire ecosystem. And cassowaries do this because, as you can see with Hope here, these guys live almost entirely off fruit. But they've got a very short digestive system, which means what comes out the other end of a cassowary often has a lot of seeds in it. Now, because of this, these guys are actually important seed dispersers. It's actually figured out that these guys are an important part of the seed dispersal of 230 different native rainforest plants, and there's at least 100 rainforest plants that are entirely dependent on cassowaries for seed dispersal.
Wow.
Either they need to go through a cassowary, or their seeds are so big that things like fruit bats can't move them around, but they're entirely dependent on cassowaries to disperse their seeds. Cassowaries know things like cassowary plums growing in the rainforest. Now, the reason seed dispersal is so important is basically it means that the baby trees grow up in a different part of the forest to their parent trees. So it means that rather than we have a patch of cassowary plums and a catch of burdekin plums and some gum trees over there, we've got trees interspersed throughout the forest. It also means that because those plants are growing up further away from their parents, I suppose, there is more genetic diversity amongst the species. So because of this, cassowaries literally are an important part for the rainforests here in Australia to survive. Without cassowaries, we lose as many as 100 and potentially 200 plus species of rainforest plants. Number 9, cassowaries have actually been recorded eating their own poo. Now, this in some ways ties back down to number 8. You see, because these guys have a short digestive system, seeds and everything come out the other end, that often what comes out the other end of a cassowary is still fairly nutritious. There's still bits of fruit in there, seeds and things like this that the cassowary often
reminds me of a dog. Dogs will eat poop. It's so gross.
ingest, so they eat their own poo. On top of that, they'll even pick through the poo of other cassowaries. This is called coprophagia, when an animal ingests its own droppings, basically. And it means that it does 2 laps of their digestive system, gets every last little bit of nutrients out of that, and I don't know, maybe spread those seeds even further.
They're loud.
But yeah, cassowaries eat their own poo. And lastly, number 10. Cassowaries here in Australia are considered endangered. Now, throughout their entire range, they're actually classed as least concern, but this is largely due to a lack of data in Papua New Guinea. It's estimated there could be between 10 and 1,000 cassowaries throughout their entire range, southern cassowaries that is. But here in Australia, we have between 1,500 and 2,500. So here in Australia, they are an endangered species. Some of the risks or threats that they face here in Australia are things like habitat loss. We've cut down an awful lot of rainforest here in Australia, but even the rainforest that's left, it's got roads going through it, so a lot of these guys are hit by cars, they're attacked by dogs, and unfortunately they're lured to these places, things like beaches, roads, suburbs, because people feed them. So through all these things, cars, dog attacks, habitat loss, unfortunately, despite the fact these guys have been here for millions and millions of years, cassowaries here in Australia are considered an endangered species. So there you have it, guys. That's 10 cool facts that I think that most of you guys wouldn't have known about cassowaries, particularly the southern cassowary, the Australian cassowary. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments if you think I've missed anything or if you think there is a cool fact that should have been in there. But other than that, guys, before I leave, I do want to shout out Billabong Sanctuary who've let us come and film with these guys. If you are in North Queensland, come and visit them. And if you're not in North Queensland, come here anyway and visit them. It's a cool place, lots of cool animals. Lastly, if you did enjoy the video, there is a few cool things you can do to help cassowaries. If you do visit the place, make sure you don't feed our cassowaries. If you live here, keep your dogs controlled, things like that. Make sure you conserve rainforest ecosystems where you can, either personally or through foundations, but lots of ways we can make sure these guys survive well into the future. So yeah, other than that, like the channel, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. Check them back next week. Have a good one and take care.
I love the blue, like how they're like their whole face, how their whole face is blue like that. It's such a pretty color. I'm gonna say emus do scare me more than a cassowary, although this is the only video that I've seen of a cassowary, so I don't really know like what, like you'll have to let me know what makes them the most dangerous. Like will they just go and attack people, like you know how like a magpie will go and attack somebody? Like will these cassowary birds just go and attack people for no reason, or is it just the fact that like they get hit by cars and stuff? Like what is it that makes them so dangerous? I'm just curious because like for us, deer are our most dangerous animal in the United States. And it's not because deer are going around attacking people. Not that they can't, they can, but it's that they're getting hit by cars so much and causing, you know, fatalities that way. So I'm just curious, like, what is it about them that makes them the most dangerous bird? I'm just curious. Like, that is not the kind of bird that I would want to get chased by at all. I got chased by a goose once when I was in California, and this thing was enormous and it scared the shit out of me. I was 14, and the only way I could get it away from me is by running up to a parking lot and climbing on top of somebody's parked car and just sitting on the top of their car because this goose would not leave me alone. Birds freak me out. They just freak me out. I don't know. I can look at them and I can think they're cute and I can, you know, respect them. They just creep me out. I don't know. But the cassowary definitely doesn't creep me out as much as the emu. And I don't know if it's just because I have seen emus in person multiple times and they are scary. Like in person, they are so scary and they're so big. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please give it a like. Subscribe if you haven't done that yet, and I'll see you next time.